Welcome back. We're back. Two fans, one Paul. Self David Quiz, lovely co-host KB Kirk Brown as always. Week 8. It's hard to say, KB. Week 8 preview is up. It's a decent week. I'm not that confident in my team, but I listen to a lot of stuff about everything going on at Michigan State and Penn State. We can always talk about that more, KB. But looking forward to breaking down another week of college football, even though it's already week 8. And hopefully my team has some life. We'll throw it out to you in Arizona and dive right in with the Michigan game.
Yeah, I mean, the weeks fly by, don't they? I mean, we wait for so long. I say this all the time, but we wait for so long, and then you're halfway through the season, and it just feels like it just started. Good talking about this. So, yeah, I mean, I'm excited. Obviously, Michigan has to bounce back from a really tough game. They're facing Washington at home. Washington has to have that brutal 9 a.m. West Coast kick time for them. It's the Fox Big Noon kickoff game. Surprised that this is the game that they chose. Still feel like there might be a referendum in the league eventually that West Coast teams can't do the 9 a.m. kick, and maybe on the back end can't do like the 11 p.m. local kick either. I think that'd probably be fair. But yeah, Michigan's favored 5.5-point favorites. I'm picking Washington in this game. I think Michigan can definitely win this game, but all of the issues that were presented by USC are the same issues that Washington presents, except with like a better defense. I feel like Washington has played more consistent over the course of the season. They held Ohio State to, I think it was 10 points in the half. That game was a lot closer than the final score indicated. Damon Williams put up video game stats last week against Rutgers. Now, Rutgers' defense has been really bad, but all things considered, Michigan's defense, I read a stat today that they allowed a 56.7% success rate. That's the highest success rate they've allowed on defense going back to 2003 Northwestern in 2020, I believe Penn State or Wisconsin. And those were historically bad defenses. So, I mean, all things considered, Michigan's in a really bad space. Tackling and all those little things. This is usually the time where the team rallies and gets a big win. I do want to take a second here. People talk about how preseason rankings don't really matter, and I can understand that feeling. But if Washington started the season in the top 25, they would be a top 15 team nationally, because their only loss was a hard-fought loss against Ohio State. Like, that's the thing that, people are like, why do preseason rankings matter? Because one-loss teams that only lose to the number one team, that's the reality of the situation here, right? And so teams like Washington get shafted because if they lose this weekend, they won't be ranked at all this season, unless they can rattle off a few down the stretch. But if they do win, then they're going to just, barely sneak into the top 25. So that's why the rankings in preseason matter. That's why you see so many people talking about the rankings, because there's two teams that I think Washington's the only 5-1 team between SEC and Big Ten that isn't ranked. And so they're a really good football team. Their only loss, like I said, is Ohio State. I think that they're really good. You have 3 playmakers on offense. Denzel Boston is their big wide receiver. They do have a freshman, Roebuck, I think is his name. He's done really well this season. Damon Williams, obviously the QB. He's small, but he's really fast. They're going to run him. They're going to do a bunch of things. And then, kind of an underrated guy in the national media, and I think this is because he plays out in Washington, the West Coast, Jonah Coleman. He's really, really good. He's a top-tier running back. His contact balance is extremely elite. It's you're not going to be able to wrap ankles. You're not going to be able to run into him. You have to wrap them up, bring guys to the ball. So I think Washington covers this 5.5 points. I'm not going to take Michigan here. Even if they win, I think it's a close field goal-like game. Their defense against Power 5 opponents has been letting up right around 30 points a game. So I just think you're going to get in that range, and Michigan maybe squeaks into the high upper 20s. So,
yeah. I want you to say some more because you talked a lot about Washington. But for me, first, KB, I want to see how this team bounces back. Obviously they had a tough loss against Oklahoma, but sometimes when you go out west and you kind of lay an egg, and you got to answer back. And I know I sent you a clip because Sharon Moore was in a blue collar get up, and I sent you a clip of people just going at him, which I get it. It's a thing to do. Get the guys going. Find a way to.
Well, and it's been a thing since 2016.
Michigan,
right?
Does Michigan always do it?
Yeah, it's been a thing since 2000, I think 17 or 18. Harbaugh started it.
Yeah.
Especially after a key loss, you go on the road and it's like, hey, here's the time you have to put the work in. And like it's
It is
corny
cheesy.
because
Yeah.
yeah, but like football's corny, dude. Like
Yeah.
I get it. Like if you're an opposing fan,
Of
you're like,
course,
oh my god,
eat
it's
that
the
shit
stupidest
up.
thing ever. But if your team does it and it leads to a win, like you're like, this is the greatest thing ever. We're blue collar. Yeah, I mean it's been a thing for a really like a long time over I think like nearly 10 years in the program. So I mean I get it, but like rival fans are like that's just how they are,
They put
right?
him
Like they're
like
just
he had like the mechanic garb on, but then I saw one he's like in military gear, and they just like went all in, which it's just funny.
they memed it, yeah, for sure.
But to the game, I'm kind of like I want to see how Michigan bounces back. I mean, it's a conference loss. I know the Oklahoma won. They learned from that. I think Bryce, he's 18. He's young. He's a freshman. I still want him to kind of against a pretty good team. KB, I feel like he needs to just do more, which is a lot to ask for a young quarterback. He's got the talent. He's getting that bag. Let him rip, let it go, make mistakes. I mean, that's what's going to happen as a freshman. And sometimes I know the Michigan way, especially with Harbaugh, the way they won that natty, right, is you just had a great team around a decent quarterback. JJ's in the league. I think he's fine. But, like, that team was a running team. And JJ got you out of predicaments when he needed to. But Corum and Haskins, whoever else you had, they were running the ball. You had that now with Haynes, but I just don't think you have enough around a young Bryce Underwood. Maybe in a year or two he can take the team, and put it on his back. But right now, like we talked about over and over, the receivers, like McCauley had a good game. You still need less drops from that receiving core in general. The tight ends, I feel like Klein has not been there, and we all thought he would be the guy. The line's been all right, a little banged up, and then the defense is hard, and they got a little. I think USC had a great game plan. They came down hard, blitzing, and we're just gonna screen you, and Maeva's gonna make a quick decision. If Williams can do the same thing, be quick. Maybe be a little agile in the pocket. I can see the same thing happening, but maybe your guy Wink can make adjustments as every good coach should, KB, because I know how making adjustments doesn't happen down the road up here. But I'm going to take Washington too. Give me the dogs, as Sam would say. Woo, 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 woo. Great environment, KB. You need to get to Seattle. But I just think the other talent, you said, the big three guys, you said the defense is stingy. Washington always has some talent, and I think Jed Fish, the coach from Arizona that's there now, has a good scheme. He's smart. He's got his guy. He's a little bit smaller, so if Michigan can lay the wood on him once or twice, he could affect him. But I just think the Washington team has enough talent to test this Michigan defense, and I don't know if Bryce has enough quite yet around him to get this win. But it could be a close game. We don't really know much about either team. We kind of are getting there in the time of the year where we know what we got, but I think in a game or two we'll know way more about these teams. But a good test for both teams. It'd be a tough win out east for Washington. But, UCLA just did it to my shitty team, so anybody can win. It doesn't matter. Get on the field. You're playing a game. You're up and you're going.
Yeah, and I mean, what the season so far has really came down to is third down success. Michigan, I think, against Power 4 opponents is converting, outside of Wisconsin at like a 32% rate on third downs. And that's just not acceptable. And they're letting up nearly 50%. So teams are just able to maintain drives, and then you get less opportunities. Like Michigan offensively had 3 drives in the first half. 3, and it led to 7 points. Like, that's not the worst thing ever. It's just the other team scored on 2 of their 4, 2 of their 4 because they got an extra possession. They stole an extra possession where Michigan couldn't get off the field. And then to start the second half, Michigan goes 3 and out because of a dumb penalty where it's like 3rd and forever. And then on a 3rd and 28, you give it up, right? Like that's like if you can wrap up the season so far on the 2 losses, like that's the game. Is the other team is really good on third down and you're horrible on third down. They get to sustain way more drives, they get way more opportunities, and your team has your defense on the field for 90% because they can't get off the field. We also, I think, I want to see someone else in at punter. We had 3 punts. I think they punted like 5 times. 4 of the 5 punts traveled less than 40 yards. One of them went 28 yards. Like you get the ball, and you go 3 and out on the first possession of the game, which is another thing. Like we've given up so many first possession touchdowns. I expect another one this week, and we've struggled on first possessions all season. And you see that like, okay, well, it's a 3 and out. You can punt the ball. You're not in bad field position. You're at your 30 or so. After gaining 5 yards, and the ball goes to like the 50-yard line. Well, now that's like a play. Like that's how you just lose games instantaneously. So I really need to see something else in the punting game. But yeah, I mean, this is the they have to win this if they want any shot at the playoff. If they want any shot at Ohio State, down the stretch, this is a game that is a must-win. Maybe you think you could hiccup. I mean, their 2 losses are two teams currently ranked in the top 20 on the road. And not short road trips, long voyaging road trips, right? Both to Oklahoma and to USC. So it's not the end of the world, but they need to come out and look more polished. They have to look better. They have to not just talk about it in between the week. They have to go out and prove it. And Washington looks like a much better coached team. Looks like a team that's more prepared. And I think that the common denominator right now is the coaching. If your team looks unprepared for 1 week, whatever. Sharon Moore's team has looked unprepared for half of the games he's coached, because I can't even give him credit for CMU or Nebraska. But every game, and not just this year, going back to last year, he looked prepared for like 2 games last year. And it was like one of them was Ohio State. Like, that's not enough. So if your team isn't prepared, that's on you as the coaching staff. If it looks like, oh my God, we don't know what we're doing, that's on you. And that's kind of where I'm at. So
fair enough.
I don't want to dwell on this any longer, Quist.
Okay.
I know we got to talk about you and your team and possibly the embarrassing possibility here on the Brass Spittoon Trophy, I believe.
The old Brass Spittoon, correct.
Old Brass Spittoon. The current line is 26.5. I think Indiana is going to hit that in the first half, maybe even the first quarter, and I think they're going to win by like 50. I think that they're not going to let this be close. Now, the only thing is you got embarrassed last week. They're coming off a huge win, but I just don't see Sig in his DNA that's like something that impacts his team. I just think that he has so much fire, so much respect that I don't think it's going to happen. So I'm taking Indiana big here.
Yeah, Indiana by a billion, KB. I've given up. As much as I don't want to, I hate it. But I mean, I think it was like, I want to say 63-10 or something last year. They beat their brakes off at home. I stayed there for most of the game. And I'm just curious to see how much this team has fight. You know, I think if the team has some fight and they make it close, you know, we're having a conversation where Smith probably keeps his job, which I don't want to say because I don't want him to get fired. I just think it's too soon. But if he gets, if we get boat raced like last year, KB, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets fired. Which, you know, I don't think going to the Michigan game. If you do fire him, I'm going to say it now. Courtney Hawkins has to be your interim coach. No question, no other thoughts. You get a Michigan State guy as your interim coach. We'll see what happens. I don't want it to happen. The team needs to show fight. The coaches need to show they know how to fucking coach and make adjustments, KB, because we haven't seen it since, I don't know, after Boston College game. Can't win a conference game. Can't make adjustments. Guys are doing too much. They're saying, well, then make a guy in there that knows what he's doing. I'd rather get beat by pure talent and speed than being in the wrong place over and over again.
Wait. The comment was that they're doing too much? Like
one guy trying to over prepare. If you're, you know, I would say Aiden Childs is a good example. Like he's trying to fucking heave one in a bucket and he's overthrown it by 10 yards. Or a guy goes in the A gap and he's trying to, you know, busting his shit, but he needs to be in the B gap. Shit like that is what they were saying. And in my thing too, they said in the postgame presser is like we're missing assignments. Guys, it's week 7. It's pedestrian. It's college football, and I know college football and the NFL are tough or different, right? But you're still a big program. I mean, top 25 all time with money and shit and all that, in my opinion. So I don't know how you're coaching big ball and you can't do your job, but you can say, you know, we're not doing enough. Well, you need to back up because you're making a lot of money, and there's a lot of people that want you gone. It's just, and at the end of the day, the players make plays, and you need to put the players in the right mindset in the right place to make the play. If that's figuring out what Iowa did to slow Indiana down, because what is it, 20-15 game, do what Iowa did. If you don't have the guys to do that, then to say we don't got the guys, we're doing our best, get boat raced, and you're probably fired. So it's frustrating. I don't know if Childs is starting or not, or Alicio, the backup. You know, we can't run the ball. The O-line is terrible. We're probably going to try to run the ball again, KB, for, 50, 60 yards. And the defense just needs to figure it out because they've shown flashes, but then they can't tackle. The flats for tight ends and running backs are destroying us all game on crosses. And, we can't get any pressure at the quarterback, which we've talked about for 2 years now. And it's just frustrating. And I don't want to be mad at this team, but I guess I was listening to other podcasts about Michigan State stuff. I guess Mark D'Antonio spoiled us. And whatever happens in the future of college football, you kind of got to figure it out because it's ever-changing. And unfortunately, it's not what you did for me yesterday. It's what you're doing for me right now. And ask James Franklin what he would have thought 2-3 weeks ago, you know. So it's frustrating, and I think Cignetti is a great, good for Indiana. They're going to beat the fuck out of us. And obviously we'll see what we talk about on Sunday night and Monday because be very curious to see what J-Bat wants to do if they get destroyed. My respect to the players, though. It's a shitty situation.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing too is that you got to consider, right, is like, I feel like you've been talking about the same issues for the last 2 years. Like the same, we're just missing assignments. The players got to play. Well, like, motherfucker, you brought these guys in. This is your fucking team. And I know that it's usually 3 years before, like, it's the team that you get to call your own. But still, like, it's the transfer portal era.
Yeah.
You came from a team that won a bunch of games. So, like, I think that's the most disappointed thing is, like, it's been 2 years and you still haven't found guys that are doing your job that you want them to do correctly. And the last thing I'm going to say is I'm really nervous if Trials comes in and plays this game. This team's averaging like 6.5 sacks a game, and if they do any long drop back passing, this D-line is ferocious. They killed Illinois on it. They killed Oregon on it. These guys are running for their life. And Childs, you know, we love him, but he holds on to the ball a bit. And, like, there are a bunch of long developing routes, I feel like, in this offense because they want to take shots. And I feel like you got to maybe move to something a little bit more consistent with how poor the O-line play is. But I like you, Quist. Just want to see MSU fight. I don't hope anyone loses their job, but you have to show growth. Like, if you aren't showing growth in year 2 or, like, improvement, what are you doing with your life? What are you doing with your job? And I think the cherry on top of it is you can't fucking recruit. So it'd be like difference where, like, at least Sharon Moore right now, like, all things considered, how annoyed I am with him, with how he's been coaching. Like, he brought in a top 10 class last year. Obviously, part of that's just getting the boosters to buy in and, you know, acquire Bryce over what LSU was willing to pay him. But they also have, like, the number 1 running back recruit in the country in the next class, and they have a good class building behind it. And, like, that's how you build success. Because the best thing is, too, right, is if you coach a team and you fire the coach after they brought in everyone, if you can hire a really, you know, committal guy that can keep everyone around, you can have a foundation there. Versus what I feel like MSU, like, if they fire Smith now, is like the guy coming in is going to be in a worse place than when Smith got here. Now, I know a lot of people left in the portal, but I think too, that's on Smith for not being that guy.
Spring,
that's kind of like
brutal.
Yeah.
That was tough.
So,
I had another thought, too. And I've talked about it a lot, KB. I do think his personality doesn't help. He's just a football guy, and he's not like... I think that I've talked about D'Antonio a lot. D'Antonio had some spark and had some, you know, if Mike Hart said something, bang, he's coming right back. If Berger says something, that's Jonathan Smith's time to, you know, kind of have a comeback, you know, because Berger said the guys pretty much gave up, former Michigan State player. So he's had chances where if he just says something with a tone or a little bit different, I think he'd be a little bit more well received, but that's just not who he is, which is fine. It's just
people want to find excuses. If he was winning games, no one would
probably
care,
wouldn't
right?
say that. Yeah, true.
Yeah, I mean, like, that's the thing, right? We talked about it. What's the difference between winning and losing? No one gives a fuck if you're doing that, right? No one cares if Johnny Manziel's partying every night in college because he's winning football games. He goes to the Browns, it's a problem because he's a bad quarterback, right? Like, that's the difference.
That's fair. Yeah, but yeah. There's a lot going on. I talked to there's a guy at work that's very well connected to Michigan State, works for them, and the conversations he's having and hearing is interesting. And there's some thoughts on J-Bat and what he could do. And I think I listened to another podcast, Michigan State guys, is talking about like everything from like the end of D'Antonio and other things before that to now, and then NAL and to Tucker situation, and you know the guys leaving when Smith came in, they all left in the spring, which like Gino Vandermark, I think he's at Bama, and then like the D tackles. Last year. Like there was all these things that if he could have just kept guys a little bit longer, things might be different. But here we are. It's time, you know, it's push comes to shove, unfortunately, already in about 18, 19 games. And depending on the final thing, KB, we might be having a long conversation on Monday, about what's next steps, which is crazy to say because we were pretty happy about this hire 2 years ago.
I mean, he was a big hire, right? They offered him a bunch of guaranteed money to come in. They threw a big contract at him. And I think the thing too, right, but we got to move on, but it's interesting talking about this for a couple of reasons, but you guys just transitioned at the worst time. Like,
and D'Antonio retiring right before COVID is like
right. That's what I'm
terrible.
saying. First off, well, D'Antonio hanging on to his guys, never making changes, and riding that ship into the ground, staying too loyal to guys that maybe didn't deserve it, and then him scamming you guys by retiring after his date, so you paid him a bunch of extra money, which is like all time like dumbass thing to do. So then you were late in the hiring process. You couldn't get any of the big guys. So you had to yank Mel Tucker away from Colorado by offering him a huge contract.
It wasn't huge
and then
until
you had to offer him a pretty good contract, and then you re-upped it after the one good season because you're in such a desperate spot, right?
Yeah.
Versus it just like it's a snowballing effect of bad things happening, people screwing you over. Some people screwing themselves over.
Literally.
If you get what I'm saying.
Literally.
Yeah, literally.
Goodness.
But yeah, anything else, Quist, before we move on to our third game we're going to talk about here?
No, I just want the boys to fight a little bit, and my heart goes out to the players because I know they're trying their hardest. Like, in a lot of people, and then if you talk shit on the internet about college football players, get a life. That's my last thought. But we can jump to the next game, KB. I might be critical, but I don't talk shit. Ole Miss goes to Georgia, 3:30 kick. The current spread is 7.5 in favor of the Dogs. I'll be quick here. I'm a Trinidad Shameless guy. I'm a GR guy. Give me the Ole Miss Rebels. Give me Lane Kiffin. Give me Land Shark D. I think this is going to be a fun game. It might be low scoring, KB. These defenses are kind of gritty, and the offense, we've seen both offenses sputter. Trinidad and Ole Miss barely beat Washington State last week, 24-21, and we've seen Georgia be up and down a little bit. So I just think Ole Miss is a little bit more. I have been saying it last year too. Like, I just feel like it's that time for Kiffin to get these big wins. Going to Athens won't be easy, and I know you might disagree, but I just have a little more faith in Trinidad because I'm a homer. I like Lane Kiffin, and I hope this is an all-time game, KB. This could be a fun one, 3:30 on ABC. Which I got to say it again, CBS. I miss it. Take a drink.
Yeah, and the ratings have came out, and the CBS slates have not gone nearly close to the SEC slate, so I'm sure they're regretting the transition. It feels weird and funky. But anyway, Ole Miss at Georgia, like you said, 6.5 points is a spread. I'm taking Ole Miss to cover here, but I think that they end up losing this game. Like, if I had to pick one, it'd be moneyline Georgia. I just think Trinidad Chambliss, I think some of what he does that doesn't necessarily work against like a team like Georgia that can match him, but he's really good, and they're going to throw the deep shot go balls on RPOs when you have one-on-one coverage, and I'm really interested to see how this whole thing plays out, but I'm really, really excited for this game. I like both of these teams' uniforms, especially when Ole Miss goes their white, especially with their blue helmets. I really love it here, so this is a fun game, but I'm going to have to take Ole Miss to cover here, but I think Georgia probably wins this game.
Crazy stat I'm just looking at, KB. Chambliss has about 20 more yards than Stockton, and he has 20 less completions. Or make it 30 less completions, 85 compared to 115. One more touchdown, both have one pick. So, yeah, obviously Ole Miss is going to air it out. Georgia's going to be more safe on offense and kind of run the ball and do a lot of dink and dunk, I guess, if that's a lack for a better term. But I think this will be a fun one. This is a fun coaching game. Kiffin and Smart, and yeah, I'll be locked into this one since I think is my game at 3:32. Fuck, my game's at 3:32 on Peacock, which is just a travesty. So, I'll find a way to watch that one too. Any more thoughts on the Ole Miss game?
You might need a second TV quiz. Would be my suggestion. You can have
Peacock.
And I think, and this is a good time to quit complain. Like, the problem with Peacock is, first off, the broadcast is horrible. It's always the worst one. The announcers are bad. You can't do multi-view, but like, you have to be in the app. Even if you don't have like YouTube TV and YouTube TV here, you can't jump back and forth quickly. You have to exit out of the app. So you're basically stuck watching one game. So whenever teams are on it, it's just a horrible experience. We hate Peacock. Boo Peacock. There we go. All right. The next game we want to talk about is Tennessee Bama. Tennessee's traveling to Bama, -9.5. I'm taking Tennessee. I think I really like him. I think this defensive backfield for Bama has been suspect, to say the least. I think that there's opportunities to throw on them. I know they've been playing pretty well, but I don't know if they've faced a good enough passing attack like Tennessee can pose to them. And again, I think that teams have to be willing to run the ball because there's gaps in this defense. If you can get to the outside, get to the secondary, make these corners tackle, I still think that there's opportunities in this game for Tennessee to make some big plays. So give me Tennessee in this game. I think the DeBoer game is going to fall off a cliff here, and I just think I really like this Tennessee team.
Is Jam Miller out? Do we know?
I have not seen anything.
I think
let me look it up.
I can.
If you want to talk.
just says, I hate college football. I gotta say, KB, if we're gonna complain, college injuries need to be like NFL injuries, or they need to fucking tell you what's happening. I can't stand it.
Well, you can have an opportunity where USC has a player who's out and then suits up in halftime due to other injuries. So, I mean, you could have that as well.
I don't understand. But for me, I really want to pick Bama just because I love Simpson when he's dialed in and he's got protection, KB. With this receiving core, Horton, Bernard, and Williams, they can do a lot of damage. And I think Jam Miller is just enough at running back to be in the passing game and run a little bit between the tackles. Him being, if he's healthy, I'm just going to say he's healthy right now. I don't know the injury status. I'm going to go Bama.
Questionable is what it was.
I wish that NFL.
But every player is questionable, right?
College needs to take the NFL rules. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
And some coaches are worse than others.
For 5 weeks on the season.
He's out. He's on IR. All right. And Tucker was worse than Smith. At least Smith will tell you as a state guy. But yeah, I'm just gonna roll with Bama as much as I don't like doing that. KB. They've been a dynasty forever, but Tennessee has been good. It's another big game for them. Obviously, they lost their first big game, and they've had another close game in there. I do like the team.
They played Mississippi State, went to overtime.
Yeah. I just think Bama, the way they're rolling after that loss to start the year, they just seem like they took a big step forward. So we're kind of on the opposite sides when it comes to DeBoer. I just think, like I said, that offense, if they can get the running game just going a little bit and you get those receivers going, and I know they got a tight end that's probably decent, and the defense has been doing enough. I think if they get any pressure on Simpson and he throws a damn good ball. If he doesn't have time to do that, then things will be different. But I just think the way they're rolling, Kellen DeBoer is great at scheming things up when he's got his guys, and he's got 3 fantastic receivers that he can throw it to with a decent quarterback. That's the difference for me. But if Jay Miller is hurt and not playing, I do think that makes my pick a little bit less confident. But I'm going to roll with the Tide. Nothing but the Tide, baby. But it'll be fun one to watch. 7:30 on ABC. KB, any more thoughts before we jump to the holiest of wars for the game of the week?
I think that for the 7:30 slate is really good too, because you also we're not previewing this game, but USC at Notre Dame is also a fun game that you'll be able to watch. So there'll be 2 games to check out there. But the last game, Utah at BYU, the Holy War. I like what BYU's done. Bear Bachmeyer, whatever his name is, true freshman, wears number 47. QB has played really, really well. I think Utah wins this game. I can't root for a player and a quarterback that's 47 or 37 or whatever it is, because I had a quarterback that wore 97, and his career went downhill after that. I think you get cursed by the football gods for wearing such a ridiculous-looking number.
He wears 47?
So I'm not... Something like that, bro. It is wild.
Remember Hank Bachmeyer? Yeah. It's his brother.
Yeah.
Boise guy. Sorry, 47's just making me all tizzied up. Sorry.
Yeah, he was a former receiver, so he really liked that number, bro. Pick 4 or 7 or 17 or 14. All of those are acceptable. I can't ride with a QB like that. I also think Utah, when they played their earlier game against Texas Tech, and we've seen how formidable Texas Tech is, I think Devon Dampier was more injured than initially let on. Sounds like he didn't practice that week, and that might have been why they struggled so much offensively, and their defense kept them in that game. And I think that this is going to be a huge opportunity for Utah to come in and win this game. And I also think it's a more important game for Utah a little bit, because they already have a loss this season in Big 12 play, and this has huge implications for the Big 12 overall. So I think this is a fun rivalry. I think this is 2 teams in the same state. I always like those rivalries, a good bunch. 2 beautiful uniforms. I think they both wear their red and blue, so it's a great uni matchup too. So all things considered, this is some of the best parts about football. I'm glad Fox didn't push this onto the big noon kick like they did the Texas Tech-Utah game. They gave this the late night slot, the 5 o'clock slot. I hope fans are watching all across the country on maybe teams that you wouldn't check into week for week, because they deserve it. These are 2 really, really good football teams.
Yeah, KB, I just look at the scores for both teams, and whoa. Utah's lost a game, obviously, to a pretty good Texas Tech team that's got oil money, right? And then I look at BYU's, and all their games are super close. I mean, multiple one-score games. Dude, Utah just wagoned Arizona State 42-10.
Arizona State was without Leavitt. They were playing Jeff Sims, the fumble merchant that single-handedly lost Nebraska the game against Colorado.
Oh, shit, he's still in college?
He's still in college, bro. 3rd team, I think 12th year. He has 3 PhDs, a doctorate. He's going to be an astronaut soon.
Still 42-10, brother. But they also wagon West Virginia. I mean, every game besides their loss is 43-10, 63-9. Cal Poly doesn't count. 31-6, 48-14, 42-10. I don't care who's quarterback. And BYU, they've won games. They found ways to win, but I just think I do like Dan Pierre. He's really dynamic. He does slice me up in our dynasty, and he's on Oregon. So if you've ever seen that, that's no fun. He's dynamic. He can get around. I think the receivers are decent. And when I think of Utah, KB, maybe it's a Whittingham thing. I always think of a hard-nosed defense, and I think they still got that. This could be a low-scoring game, 28-14, something like that, 21-17. I think Utah's got more with that quarterback. They've been wagoning teams. Maybe the Bachmeier guy wearing 47 is mind-blowing to me, has something in his back pocket, but I think Utah's just too much. I think they're going to be, for me, KB, like I said, I just think that Utah, that program is just tougher, right? There's something about them. So I think that'll make sense. Hopefully they do the color rush. That'd be sick to watch. But I think Utah's just too much. They've been wagoning teams. Their defense is holding up pretty well besides the Texas Tech game against a really good backup quarterback out of nowhere. And
Will Hammond.
Yeah, good. But give me Utah. It'll be a fun one to watch to the end of the day. But before we go to the outro, KB, we brought up the USC Notre Dame game. I just wanted to ask you a quick question. It's been 20 years since the Tush push, or Brady Bush push, whatever you want to call it. Bush, it was the Shamrock game where Notre Dame wore their green unis. I think they had Brady Quinn, right? USC, tremendous game, came back, and Matt Leinert's falling into the end zone, and Reggie Bush pushes him. Supposedly that's against the rules, or was. I always thought that was a fair play, but I would love to, you're the football guy more than I am sometimes. I'd love to get your thoughts on it really quick before we wrap up.
Yeah, I think, well, we got to remember the play, because the play right before that, he tried scrambling for the end zone, got tackled on like the half-yard line by a great defensive play. Yeah, flying, and they spotted it still really, really close, and it could have possibly been further back.
Yeah.
But I think the problem with it is that it wasn't just an intentional push forward. He kind of yanked them to the left into the opening, because Leinart was just running to the back of his line, and it's kind of like you can't force the runner to go somewhere. You can push him from behind. But with all that being said, no, fuck Notre Dame. Are you fucking kidding me? Tackle probably the least athletic QB that's came out of USC in 20 years. Absolutely not.
You want a Heisman Trophy?
I'm saying that wholeheartedly only because I'm a Michigan fan.
You hate Notre Dame more than I do.
Notre Dame. Yeah, fuck Notre Dame. No, you guys are whiny little bitches. You guys purposely tied a game against MSU so you could split a national championship. You can't talk about winning and weird things happening. You intentionally kneeled the ball down at like the plus 40 so you could have the game of the century and not beat MSU so you could both split it. You guys are weenies, bro. Don't talk to me about any of this stuff. No.
That game was electric, though. Back then.
Yeah, great football game. I just hate that it ended like that.
I never can remember his name, but the safety for Notre Dame back then, number 9, I think he was like an MMA fighter or something. He had a Z in it. There's just some players and numbers for some reason you remember, and he was one of those guys. Number 9 for Notre Dame is insane strong safety. But I just want to ask you because I saw it on ESPN while we were looking at scores, but I got nothing else.
What are your thoughts on it?
I think it's fine and fair. Tackle the guy. I mean, we all hate the tush push in the NFL. I think that's a little bit different with the Eagles and how they line up and everything, and there's injuries. But if you're trying to...
They all start every play.
They do. So do the Chiefs. Don't talk to me. But, yeah, I mean, if you're trying to score a touchdown, I don't understand why pushing your guy into the end zone should be a penalty. It's just you're playing the game, you're trying to...
I definitely...
Just
to rewind back on this, I do see why they think it is, because technically, according to the rules, you can't grab a player.
It's a weird rule.
But no. Yeah, who cares? Play football. You got a rushing TD on you by Matt Leinart. That you have bigger concerns.
Is it Leinart or Leinart? I thought it was Leinart.
Leinart. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you for the pronunciation.
No, I love you, KB. I had to do it. But no, thanks guys as always. We're grinding out here. Appreciate it. It's we're in a tough position again, KB, during our seasons. And it's always fun to, I guess, cry together and bitch to each other about it. And whoever listens, thanks for listening. But yeah, hopefully Sayet's got some fight in them, KB, and hopefully we're having a decent conversation Sunday/Monday. But thanks to you guys. Follow that TikTok, follow the Spotify, YouTube, whatever it is. Tell everybody about us. We always appreciate it. And from me, go green.
Yeah, I mean, Quish, you couldn't say it better. I mean, in 2023 when we started this, it was great, man. I just celebrated 15 consecutive wins. It's probably the best I've ever been. Way less fun. We actually have to deal with the losses week in and week out. But, yeah, I mean, I think we just want MSU to play a competitive game. I think a 17-point loss would honestly be hey, it's okay. But if we get into the blowout territory, I think that's more so where you'd be upset. And then Michigan, I mean, it's an important game. And under Sharon, they haven't showed up in these games. Like, you think of their wins, their only big win was against USC. OSU. The rest of the season, they lost their big game to Oregon. They lost to Texas. They lost their game to Indiana. And they had opportunities in some of those games to make them closer, and they just always failed on third down. They always failed. So I hope we don't see that this weekend. I hope Michigan can kind of turn the tide and make those plays when it matters. So with all that being said, continue to watch, listen, share with your friends. If you have any ideas, of course, please tell us. We have a bye week coming up in a couple bit, and so Quist is going to be over here. With all that said, go Blue.